Look over and double check my date. Today is November 5th, 2025. And I'm excited to be here to welcome you all to our info session number two for BioTools Innovator. And this info session I'm really excited about because we get to bring back some of our great alumni. Joining me today is Kara Wells. She's our 2024 winner and of the BioTools Innovator Grand Prize Award. She won the competition, so congratulations, Kara. But to be honest, it's she's winning prizes all over the place, not just with us. So she's doing really great and has an exciting company and journey to talk about. And we also have Ricky Sparrow, also from 2024. Ricky is the founder of Redbud Labs, has raised more non-dilutive for funding for his company than any company I know of. And he's also our best video winner from 2024. And so we're going to bring them on in a little bit. And the format today is we are live streaming this. We're recording this to post on our website. So if you miss it or have to leave early, we'll still be able to share it with you. But I'm going to kind of quickly go over BioTools Innovator, the program, what we're all about, and kind of the value we try to provide. And then we're going to actually open it up for Q&A with the audience, you guys in attendance, the questions that you have. We're going to let you guys ask to Ricky and Kara about their experiences. So without further ado, we'll jump into it. Um, I guess before I do jump into it fully, we'll leave this up. But I also am an alumnus of BioTools Innovator. I was in the 2021 first year cohort accelerator. I had a life science tool company and ended up spending about 5 years with it. After BioTools Innovator, I was able to actually exit the company, and now I'm here as the director, going on 2 years. So, love the field, love the companies, and love being able to be in a position to help connect startups to resources, investors, experts, people, and expertise to help them succeed. And I think what's really special about BioTools Innovator is, we're the first ever accelerator focused on life science tools. We bring together a very niche ecosystem of non-biotech life science to help companies that are building the platforms, the tools, the technologies to really, I think, make the next generation of medicine possible. And while we're not building the drugs, we're building the tools and technologies to enable those. We are going into our fifth year of operation. And over the life of the program, we get bigger and maybe better each year. At least that's the goal. We've had over 1,100 applicants to the program over the life of the program. We now have 95 alumni, which is almost 100. So that's a great achievement for us. We'll be there after this next year. And we're also proud that we've given away more than almost $1.5 million in cash prize awards. These are awarded as competitions in the accelerator. Not everybody gets them, but as part of the competition, we do give away prize money. And companies that have gone through the accelerator over the 5 years of our program, we've had more than $200 million in follow-on funding for those companies. So, one of the questions we get asked a lot is, am I a fit? And that's part of the goal of these discussions is to answer questions about are you a fit? But the list we have here is not intended to be inclusive. It's representative of some of the categories and areas we're interested in. But if you're outside or an adjacent, or there's just a little bit of question there, we're happy to talk about it. Uh, but really it's research products instruments. If you're putting products into a lab, into a research laboratory, a CRO, if you're being used in manufacturing processes, QC, biologics, bioreactors, anything like that, it's a good fit. We love diagnostics and enabling technologies. So if you've got, we have companies all the time with different omics platform improvements, liquid biopsy product technologies. Oftentimes they have a broad application to the field, maybe not just a specific application, but we can talk about that if you have questions on that. Drug discovery and drug development is a good area. We have a lot of AI drug discovery is a hopping area right now. And AI applied across all these categories is also a hot area right now, as it is probably everywhere. We also have enabling technologies for food and ag. These have a direct and significant impact also on human health, so we consider these as well. It's also involves life, so we love to support these types of companies. And then we also have improving preparedness for medical countermeasures. This comes directly, really, from our partnership with BARDA and the work that they're doing and supporting us on. So we're trying to help improve really worldwide pandemic response, like we saw in the last few years, and hopefully won't have to see again for a while. So the BioTools Innovator ecosystem is made up of the supporting sponsors for our program, and these include Broad Oak Capital and Research Corporation Technologies (RCT), both great funders in the ecosystem. We have companies like Nissan Chemical, I5 Biopartners, who are in here, and then we also have our partnership with BARDA, and we also have some resources for PubGrade for companies that come into the program, and they're a great supporter of the companies as well, offering direct support and access to their software and how to use it most effectively. As we mentioned, BARDA, we have a track in the accelerator for them, and if you've been following us for a while, you know that we also actually give out a grant on behalf of BARDA. So they're separate programs. The grants are given out on a yearly basis, opening up late next year for the next cycle, but we've already finished solicitation for the 2026 cycle. But if that's of interest, you don't have to be in the accelerator to get or qualify for those. But keep posted for when those come available next year. And then we also have track specific benefits for the BARDA supported companies. They support about 10 companies in the accelerator of 30 total. And so they have a little bit of additional advantage, not advantage, sorry, benefits and support for those companies in terms of visibility, some events, and some support that they're able to provide to these companies. And in general, we provide a couple of high-level benefits. I think, when I came on 2 years ago, I asked the exiting cohort, I came in at the very end of the program, and I asked the exiting cohort, I was like, what's the biggest value you've gotten from the program? And I got almost the same answer from everybody. Uh, it was not it was maybe not what you would think. It was ecosystem. It's the people. It's the group around them. It's the cohort members that they've gotten closer to, gotten to know, become friends with. It's the mentor support and expert community that's around it, and it's the connections to the people that they need and want to know in the ecosystem. So it's really the people is what is I think the biggest value of what we provide. But of course, there's a whole lot more. And so every company that comes in, you actually get, we look for, source, and provide curated mentorship. We work with you to figure out what your biggest needs and challenges are, and we will work to support you with advice and guidance from people who have been there and done that for your company. We have an educational curriculum like this right here. We do a weekly webinar series, June through October, as we're running the accelerator. This is a direct benefit for the companies. It's curated to their specific requests and needs in terms of support. And we bring together experts to talk about those topics, and that can be anything from fundraising to business development, hiring and firing. We actually have two more left this year. Those can be viewed online live from YouTube and LinkedIn. And we also post those in our online repository. So you don't have to be in the program to see them, but there is a benefits to being in the program in terms of access and participation. We also have resources, like I mentioned, PubGrade. It's a great resource for finding information in the market, finding KOLs, research, and competitive analysis. We also have access to databases like PitchBook. We have support for expert resources of PhD students who can help do certain activities, kind of like an intern, not an intern, but they can help do some market research support and some scoped activities for companies. We do some events, and there's obviously recognition and visibility, and then the funding that comes along with the prizes in the program. All right, so in a nutshell, let's talk about what this path looks like. We are still in 2025, but we are sourcing for 2026. It takes a while to get here. So if you haven't started an application, we'd love to see it come in. But we will be having a deadline this year for 2026 applications on December 1st, 2025. At that point, we actually engage a whole community of experts, investors, and others to review these applications and help us source the companies that are going to be invited to our road tour. That's the top 20% of companies make it to the road tour, and that happens between March and May, more likely March and April. And as we move through those processes, and we'll probably dive deeper into what these road tour pitch events look like when we get to the Q&A. But and they're one of my favorite parts of the program, and I think they're really value add, whether you actually make it into the program or not. I will say everybody gets feedback from the application process as well. So if you're not sure if you're if you're not sure you're a fit, it always takes more than not doesn't always. It sometimes takes companies more than one time to apply. It often does, and they get feedback that they can then optimize and submit again in the future to get in. We will be doing selections in May, so the feedback from these pitch events will be taken, considered, and then we'll pick the 30 companies that will make it into the accelerator in May. And the accelerator starts in June. So we do a in-person kickoff we call the Innovator Summit. This will be early June, and it's a 2 or 3 day conference. Everybody comes together from not only BioTools but also MedTech Innovator. We usually have more than 100 companies in attendance, and it's a great event. You get to meet your cohort, you get to meet people. It's a little bit of a conference to kick things off. And then everybody goes back home and we become virtual, where we do mentorship assignments, and we'll do the webinars and other content through the program. And then at the end of October, we do our capstone event, and the capstone closes everything out. We come back together, our ecosystem comes out, we have a little bit of a conference and a pitch event, and that will culminate with the voting on the awards and the finalists, and that closes out the program, and you become graduates. So that's the quick life cycle of our program. And you can see the journey here. This is from last year's data. So we had 440 applicants last year, 20% were invited to pitch, and 31 made it into the accelerator. It's about a 5 or 6% acceptance rate. And then our grand prize award is a $250,000 cash prize. All right. So this is some photos from our capstone event last year. And so, not last year, actually, multiple years. But in the middle on the left here, you can see, let's see, I saw Ricky there. There's Ricky. There's Kara. So they're here on the slide. Um, it's a great event. It's good publicity. It's in person. Usually it's in San Diego or Boston traditionally, depending on kind of events happening around it and things like that. But that's our capstone. And this is just kind of our quick application data. I'm trying to get through all of this because we've covered this in a lot more detail in our previous webinar. So we have gone over this stuff in good detail. But what I would like to do is now bring on our alumni to take questions and to share some of their experiences, uh, applying for the program, in the program, kind of value they've gotten from it. But I'm going to open it up for questions. If you have questions, please don't post them in the chat. There is a Q&A button, and it's a lot easier for us to manage and bring people on through the Q&A button. So I'm not looking at the chat, but if you've asked there, please put it in the Q&A, and we will take them from there. If you do ask a question, it'd be great if you could. For some of them, we'll bring you on to let you kind of ask directly. So be prepared to turn your camera and microphone on as well when we get through that. So before we take any questions, let me turn these slides off. And let's bring on Kara and Ricky. So, Kara, would you mind just giving us a little bit of an intro about yourself and tell us kind of about your company and where you kind of are right now?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Kara Wells. I am I'm a reproductive physiologist, so I've studied in vitro fertilization, embryo development in both humans and animals throughout my career and finished a PhD in 2017. I started working doing human IVF after that, and I was just really kind of frustrated, and I saw a lot of problems, challenges, and opportunities in the IVF industry, mainly that the way we as embryologists select which embryos gets transferred into both people and animals is just a subjective analysis based on a visual inspection of embryos by the embryologist. And I knew that we were accidentally selecting dead and dying embryos for transfer each and every day, which is a significant economic and emotional problem to people in the United States. I I decided that we could solve this problem through technology to evaluate embryo health in real time. And I actually teamed up with a cattle veterinarian and started working in the animal IVF industry first because it offered a large, accessible market with no regulatory barriers and still good product market fit. So today we have a commercially available product. It's software to evaluate embryo health in real time, and it's available for use in animals. But we are also actively working to take products to market for human IVF embryo evaluation as well.
All right. Thanks, Car. And Ricky.
Yeah, hey everybody. So I'm Ricky Spear. I'm the CEO at Redbud Labs. We spun out of UNC Chapel Hill. We're still based in North Carolina in the Research Triangle area, and we're a tools company in the molecular space, so sequencing, PCR, and we have a platform for automated sample prep. And the way we say this is everybody hates sample prep. If you've ever done PCR, if you've ever done sequencing, it is the part that everybody does not want to do. It's the part that's inconvenient. It's the part that only ruins the assay. It never actually makes the science. There, it's an old market. It's a mature market, totally commoditized. And what we've set out to do is make it disappear, make it really easy, really robust, super easy to use instrument. It's about a cubic foot where everybody else's device is at least eight or so times that size, costs about a quarter, um, and the shortest hands-on time in the industry, no preventative maintenance, really, really easy to use. It's a toaster where everybody else has this kind of complicated piece of liquid handling equipment. And so that's our product. We're commercial stage now. We and yeah, we participated in BioTools last year and had a great experience. So happy to chat more about it.
All right. And Ricky, I was going to ask you, so uh, I like the way that you talk about your company because you don't come at it like a scientist. You're not like, oh, we take 30 microliters of fluid, we take it through. It's not technical at all. It's just we're a toaster. We're a tool. And your tagline too, which is what sample prep. Everybody hates sample prep. Where did you come up with that?
Yeah, so that actually came through uh, it came through the application process actually. So the second stage, we'd done the written application, and in the second stage, you do these pitch events, and um, you get to do your 60 seconds at the beginning before you go into the roundtables and start doing the 5-10 minute section. And one of the issues with a company like ours, this is not unusual for tools companies, by the way. I think it's true in a lot of cases. I was kind of writing out the notes for my 60 seconds, and I realized I was spending 20 seconds, 30 seconds on the statement of the problem. And this is really common particularly it's like sample prep is a fragmented industry. There's 1,000 different kinds of it. And everybody, some people really care about the fact that the box is small, and some people really care that it's less hands-on time. And some people care about the maintenance. How do you explain all of that in 20 seconds? And I was getting ready to talk to do my 60 seconds, and I said, screw it. And I just crossed it all out, and I said, everybody hates sample prep because it was the thing that I could say in 2 seconds that would get me to the next part of the pitch. And so, like so many things, you come up with the thing that works by trying to solve a problem.
And it's catchy and it's memorable. That's great. Thank you. Um, so we do have a question. I don't think it's quite for you guys yet, but I'll take it here real quick. It's our company is currently developing an mRNA therapeutic product. Could you clarify whether a company like ours would be a good fit to apply for this program? It's hard to say a simple yes or no on that question as it's written. But what I can say is that, if you're a true drug development company, you're planning clinical trials and those types of activities, that would probably not be a fit for the program. But if you have more of a platform technology, if there's a tool that can be used by others, if there's an unregulated product component to what you're doing, then that could and would likely be a fit. So if there's any questions about that, please reach out to me or the team afterwards, and we can uh, look at it more directly. Um, all right, so I guess let's kind of start at the top, and I'll get back to you, Ricky, because your tagline I think correlates directly into the video that we'll talk about a bit as well. But when you guys were first coming across BioTools Innovator, can you kind of just, if you remember, how did you kind of come across us, and what got you interested to apply in the first place, Kara?
Great question. So I remember the night that I applied. I 2023 was a really hard year for our company. We realized that we invested a lot of money into product development and it really just wasn't producing the product that we want. And so it completely screwed up our go-to-market timeline. The product wasn't ready. And I spent a lot of money developing something that I couldn't sell. So I was in a pinch as a founder. My funding had dried up, and I actually needed to fundraise for the first time. I was personally making payroll from my own bank account and trying to get my company organized so we could be attractive to real investors. And to get investors, I needed to expand my network. So I was really looking for any opportunity that I thought would be supportive of a life science company and the unique needs of a life science company. And I actually was not familiar with BioTools Innovator. And I think one of the program directors, Ari, reached out to me pretty late at night on LinkedIn and he sent me a link to it. And I was like, well, this is super cool. These people seem to get life science. There's a $250,000 prize. Apply. And so I think I probably applied within an hour of him sending that to me. And it was really just out of the need of I was in a hole, and the only way to dig myself out of it was to seek opportunity.
Okay. Uh, we got a question from Dong Hoon, but Ricky, I'd like you to go first, and then we'll take the question.
Yeah, so I'd known about BTI just kind of it was in the orbit of you know, folks I'd gotten appointed to it by investors and other companies and so on. But I didn't really know whether we were a good fit. I think, I'd seen it kind of pop up while we were in product development earlier on in the company and figured that it, we weren't in a position to take advantage of it. And the year that we did apply, I saw it pop up. I saw the call pop up, and I thought, actually, this might be a good time. Like we're getting ready to take the product to market. We've been around as kind of a development stage company for a while. I know a bunch of people in this industry, but we kind of haven't gone out on a tour and made sure that people actually know who we are and what we're trying to do. And so it was kind of a chance to step out on our own terms and say, here's what we're doing, um, where we might get seen within the industry, even not worrying about customers. And then beyond that, knowing that we were going into commercial stage, like a lot of tools companies, you really can't raise, you really can't finance um, the commercial seed. Um, Either one of your founders has that commercial experience, or if they don't, you have to kind of figure it out as you go because it usually takes a long time before a tools company can even afford to have a full-time commercial executive. And so kind of knowing that we were going to have to learn this stuff on our own, that I would have to learn it on my own, wanted to bring in some advice and get some new network and new points of view on what the commercial roadmap was. And so that's why we applied. We didn't know if we'd be a good fit. So I sat down. I think I probably filled out the application in about an hour, just banged through it in one sitting, sent it out, and I immediately put it out of my mind and said, we'll see if BTI thinks we're a good fit. And if they are, then we'll pay attention. And if not, we'll move on to the next thing. And yeah, it worked out. It worked out really well. It was really helpful.
Yeah, that's a good perspective, Ricky. I remember with my company, I think, you see all these companies popping up with all these wins and awards and achievements. But what people don't publish is those 80, 90% of things that they didn't get and didn't get into. You don't. So we talk about the highlights and maybe sometimes it's a bias. But yeah, for sure, apply and sometimes you get it. I think that again, not every program does this, and I'm not even sure we did it the year you guys applied, but we do actually have a process for giving people feedback from the review process and stages now. So you get info and feedback, and I've had people tell me that they were really appreciative of it. It's not always nice feedback that you get, but it's authentic feedback, and they're like, nobody would ever tell us this to our face. Like we've never heard this before, but it's really helpful, and it gives us something actionable we can work on now. All right, so we have another question here. Okay, these are questions about fit for the program, so we'll come back to those here in a bit. Um, okay, so the next question I have is when you guys joined the program, and I think you maybe already touched on this a little bit, but when you joined the program, what was like the number one thing you were looking to solve in your company? What made it worth, in your eyes, the commitment of time and energy and resources that it took to do it? Ricky, you could take this one first, maybe.
Yeah, so I think the reason that we applied, like the motivation to apply was connection to strategics, kind of like I said, being seen in the industry and then advice on go to market. That was the thing that was the activation energy. And then, the other aspects of the program turned out to be very useful along the way.
So when I applied, I think we were kind of at that awkward teenager stage where we had just bootstrapped the past 4 years. We had a functional MVP. We were trying to go to market. And so everything that I, as a founder, had gotten proficient at the past 4 years, research and development, testing my product, validating the product, I needed to learn how to be a commercial ready founder that had a product in the market. So we needed to know how to sell it. We needed to know how to position it in front of customers. And I also mentioned we critically needed funding. And so I was really looking for help, assistance, curriculum, guidance to help mature me as a founder, to get me out of being a scientist, R&D stage into an actual, we have a product and let's sell it. And I think we got some really good feedback from mentors. I think the sessions about selling and commercialization and going through these processes to bring life science tools to market was very useful and at very good timing for us as a company. And I also think that it was great having a curriculum and having milestones that I was held accountable to for this program because it made me get over some of my fears and reservations about selling the product and just go out there and do it.
That's great. Okay. Um, so in terms of the application to the program, or I'm sorry, not the application, but in the program, can you talk a little bit about your experience and sort of what activities you worked on and what kind of time that took? How did you kind of balance responsibilities for the accelerator along with running the company? Because none of us have enough time.
I personally didn't find it challenging. It's an asynchronous program. All of the goals and milestones are specific to the needs of our company. They don't just, give us a checklist that all the companies need to do, which is really nice because Genesis was at a very different stage in development than Ricky's company versus some of the other companies. So really it was up to us to set the curriculum of the company. So I was going to be putting time into these activities either way. BTI just gave me extra personnel and mentors to bounce ideas off of as I went through this go-to-market roadmap. Um, the the mentorship was actually really great. Um, I think we met with our mentors every week, or every other week. We had two sets of mentors, so I think I had a mentor meeting every week. And it was completely driven by me. I got to bring the topics that I wanted to discuss. And it wasn't a waste of time. Like they gave really specific feedback that actually helped us. For example, I was really stuck on stock option planning, and all these people wanted equity for me, and I only had 100% of the company to give. And one of my mentors gave me a spreadsheet of national averages of biotech and life science companies and their compensation plan for these different roles. And being a scientist, I'm like, this is data. These are national averages. We're going to base our planning off of this. It's not going to be emotional. And it was done. So I just picked up a lot of like tips and tricks that actually saved me a lot of time that made the effort of going through the program actually beneficial and probably gave me time back to my life to do other things.
I haven't heard many people say that. But that's great. Ricky, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I mean, there's a line I like, which is um, that productivity is a vector, right? It doesn't matter how productive you are if it's in the wrong direction. And I think, I'm a big believer in priorities. I'm a big believer in setting goals. And so I think for me, it was really important that we knew what we were trying to get out of it ahead of time. Knowing that it was pretty easy, stuff comes over the transom. There's webinars to go to, there's different meetings that you can sit in on. People are offering to introduce you to this person or that person. And so I do think it's important to have, just like you do in the rest of running your business, to have some editorial discretion to say, look, this thing is important to me, and this thing actually isn't something that we need. And the way I ended up approaching it was, um, first of all, it was for me primarily. There were a couple places where I brought in my team. There were some of the webinars where I'd send them out to people on the team and say, hey, this one might be interesting to sit in on. But by and large, it was a program for me. And it was, and the first decision I made, I saw the email come in, fill out this form or attend this thing or whatever. The first question I would ask myself is, am I going to do it? And if the answer was yes, I would do it instantly and I would do it very quickly. So that was how I did the application. It was how I did basically all of the kind of participation with the pod and everything else. Um, and that worked out really well because that meant, from the perspective of everyone on the BTI side, all the other companies, anyone that I was working with, my mentors, I was super responsive. Um, but it also meant that, like Kara said, I was driving the program. And the same thing was actually true with our mentors. So um, we had a conversation. We met weekly, except for a couple times. I think it was every other week. And at the beginning, I said, do you have any opinions about how we do this? And both my mentors said, no, like you tell me what's helpful. So I just sent them an agenda. I was like, all right, we're going to have meet, 8 times, and this is what I want to talk about on the 8 times. And some of it changed, but yeah, it basically allowed us to set our course of study kind of through the program, which was really helpful.
That's great. Well, I want to take a quick break here. The next question is kind of about what parts of the program were most valuable, or what value you got out of different parts of the program. But before we do that, I want to share the screen again. All right. And we have a little bit of a video here to show, and then I'll talk about what's next. So.
The BioTools community is very well connected, and I feel like any question somebody's made the mistake. Somebody has the answer to prevent you from making the same mistake. So it's been a really great community to be plugged into, and my experience has been wonderful.
The BioTools Innovator experience is a wonderful ride. I would highly recommend it to anybody who wants to basically provide more exposure for their organization, learn how to basically better crystallize their message, increase your networking ecosystem capabilities. And, you know, it was really useful for us. It was not only the people that you meet, but some of the people that you meet actually, you know, get invested in you.
The most valuable part, I would be tempted to say, is the grand prize. But in reality, it's not all about money. I think the network that we built, the mentors that helped us, and everybody that we met, including the other entrepreneurs, is going to stay for much longer than the money.
So that's just a little bit about the program. But one thing we ask every company to do in the program is create a 1 minute about us video. And to me, it's also maybe was personally one of the most valuable things I did and got out of the program. And I would just like to play both of these videos for Kara and Ricky, so you guys can see their videos and maybe a little bit about their company as well.
In recent years, IVF has revolutionized the livestock industry, offering a path to improve production economics, efficiency, animal welfare, and sustainability. But there's a challenge. IVF is expensive and plagued by low pregnancy rates. Why? Because we lack methods to evaluate embryo health before transfer, resulting in the transfer of dead or dying embryos with no chance of making a pregnancy. This is why we made Envision, the breakthrough technology to evaluate embryo health in real time. With just a 30-second video, Envision captures cellular activity invisible to the human eye. Now, embryos can be analyzed to assess health, stress, metabolic function, and even sex. We empower embryologists with real-time objective data to ensure every embryo has the best chance of a successful pregnancy. Envision isn't just about improving agricultural production, it's about helping families grow and ensuring a brighter future for all.
All right, that was M Genesis, and here is Redbud Labs.
You only get good data out of sequencing or PCR when you put a lot of good molecules in. Getting those molecules ready is called sample prep. Everybody hates sample prep. In today's world, doing sample prep by hand doesn't cut it. And the big automation platforms are built for high throughput. They just aren't practical for most labs. Labs need automated sample prep that's so simple, so reliable, so easy to use and maintain that they could put it anywhere. So we built Redbud NA1. We use patented technology to automate gold standard sample prep in a microfluidic cartridge. It's the same chemistry everyone knows and trusts, just easier and ready whenever you need it. Wherever there's life, there's molecular testing. And wherever there's molecular testing, there's sample prep. At Redbud, we love sample prep, so you don't have to.
All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed those. I always like watching these videos, and you can again, Ricky actually won Best Video last year, which was a great achievement, and I think it shows the effort, not only the effort, but also just the creativity and the work that kind of goes into building a brand in the space, presenting your brand, how you represent yourself. I'd love to kind of hear from you guys since you made the video. In what ways has it been helpful or valuable, or how have you leveraged it in sort of your company, the things that you guys do? Ricky?
Yeah, I mean it was a really instructive process. I mean, it's challenging, obviously, to get the things that you want people to hear into that 60 seconds. And so just the process of like the discipline of saying what do people actually need to hear, which of course also requires deciding who you're talking to. That was really helpful for us, and I think just a good exercise. It's one of those things that you would never prioritize in, kind of the normal course of business, um, unless you've done it before. Um, and I think the other thing that it did for us was it just made video less intimidating than it was before. And so we've started doing a fair amount of LinkedIn content, and we just did how-to videos for our product that we send, unique in our space. Our customers can self-install and self-train, which is not typically the case for automation. So we have a couple 2-minute videos. We send them out to our customers and say, hey, here's how you use the instrument. Basically, call us if you have a problem. And that was a lot less intimidating um, because we'd gone through this. We kind of knew we had a little bit of that experience. So yeah, it was super helpful.
Just curious, do you guys use it still in your social media webpage or anything like that, or
We have it on our site, yeah.
okay. How about you, Kara?
I think for a while, all my investor emails, I was like, oh, hi, great to meet you. Here, check out this 1-minute video. And then we would move the conversation on from there. But I definitely use that as our elevator pitch to see if people wanted to have a next conversation or not. And we closed our round, so I guess it worked.
That's great. I actually was talking to another, I can't say who they were, but I was talking to another company a few months ago, and they've been acquired. And I asked them, I was like, what was that process like, sort of engaging that M&A transaction? And they were like, it's because we had a video. They saw the video and they loved it. And if we didn't have the video, it never would have happened. Like they wouldn't have reached out to us. It never would have come together, but they saw the video, loved it, and that led to our transaction. So the videos are really powerful, and I love to hear those stories. I think one of the challenges in the life science tools field specifically is it's hard to tell your story, and it's hard to tell your story in a way that's compelling, especially to people outside the field. I mean, when I had my company, it'd be like, "Well, what do you do?" And it's like, "Oh God, do we have 5, 10 minutes?" And with the video, it just becomes much easier, I think, to sort of communicate at a high level what you're doing and why it's actually important. Um, Let me pause here. Do we have any questions for the panelists from the attendees right now? I'll take a question here. How early is too early to apply? That's a great question, and I think you, Ricky, I believe you were at seed stage. You'd already were in the middle of your seed stage when you guys.
Yeah, we're weird because we had $30 million
Yeah,
in
yeah.
non-dilutive.
We did mention you had the more more grant funding than most
So
companies.
yeah, I mean that's one of the things about tools companies, right? They depending on what you're doing, there are reagent companies that never raise private capital, and they're basically virtual companies. They're white labeling all their reagents, or they have it sourced from other manufacturers and kind of revenue generating from day one. And you can have product on the market and $500,000 in top line and be seed stage, or you can be like us and you can you can have spent 25 plus $1 million building a device, whether it was private capital or non-dilutive, and not have product on the market. And so there's this huge diversity in the types of companies, and I think that showed up certainly in our cohort. There were companies all along that chain. I again, my heuristic, the reason that we decided to apply was, um, do I think we'll get something useful out of it if we get in? And again, in our case, that was access to strategics because I thought that we were in a position to have them care what we were doing. Our product was far enough along, um, and that go to market advice. And so I think if you if you look at the program, you kind of understand who the people are that are involved, and it seems like it would help move the company forward. Um, then yeah, it's certainly worth the time to write up the application.
Kara?
I would add that some good advice that I got pretty early on as an entrepreneur is to draw lines and not dots. If you're too early, go ahead and apply and, put your flag in the sand. If the organizers don't think that you're a good fit, you won't get in, but you can always reapply next year. And if you've achieved good growth and significant milestones in that 12-month period, and the organizers see that, I think that's really going to stick out in their mind. And they're going to say, like, hey, this is a really good high growth startup that, might not have been in a place this year, but is in a good place last year. And so, I mean, the door's never closed unless you close it on yourself. So I would build those relationships now, and if it's not the time, then try again next year.
All right, thank you, Kara. And just to sort of clarify the program's position, we'll take companies pre-seed up through Series A or B. So we're pretty fluid and flexible on what that is and what that means. If you're really, really early, we do require that by the time you start the program, you have an incorporated entity. But you don't even have to have that when you apply. So we do encourage you to apply. And like we said, if you don't, you are not selected, we'll at least try to give you some feedback on what you can be working on improving for the next cycle. We do have another question here, high level view of the application content. So just to be clear, these applications are non-confidential. We don't accept confidential data. It's too complicated. We don't want it. Don't give it to us. But that being said, I think the applications look a lot like a business plan. So if you've got a business model canvas, if you've got a business plan, if you've got sort of like if you've done something like that with your pitch deck, it's going to be a lot of the data from that. It's questions about your product, your problem, your solution, your customer, your competition, the market opportunity, some of the company fundamentals, what your investment status is, grants you've gotten, things like that. If you've got all the data, it doesn't take too long to put together, but it's really kind of what you'd see in a business plan. From your guys' memory, was there anything that stood out in terms of the application content for you?
I filled
Yeah,
out
No,
a lot of applications and grants.
they're all kind of
yeah.
blurred together.
It's
You done
it's
one,
pretty
you done
boilerplate.
a
Like
lot.
the way, I mean, I haven't been on the other side of it, but my impression looking at it is you guys are just trying to understand what these companies are, right? And so it's again, my goal when I filled it out was I want BTI to have the information to decide whether we're a good fit. I can tell you what we are. I can do it quickly because that's my job. And then you will read it and then you will tell me whether it's a good fit. And that philosophy, I think, I it's the same philosophy I use when I'm talking to investors or really anyone else, customers. And it's just like you just want to be clear. You just want people to understand what the business is. And of course, if you want someone to understand what your business is, like you're saying, Jim, you got to be able to say, here's the problem, here's the solution, here's the market, here's kind of where we are in size and stage and key activities and what our needs are.
Okay. Another question here. What's the most critical part of the application that we should put the most effort into? This one's really hard to answer because there's no right answer here. It's a whole application. Um, it depends on, what your product is, the stage of the product, the market you're in, how excited people get about the space. So it really just depends is the answer. We have people who've built and sold two or three companies in their past come into the program and still get value and participate. And we have people who are straight out of grad school and have never worked in a business before, starting their own company and taking it forward. The thing that I would say that is most universally important and critical is that you're able to listen and build connections, because ultimately at the end of the day we can build connections and we can provide feedback and perspective and insight, and being able to take that in a mature and a professional way. And you don't always have to listen to what people say, but at least hearing and taking that in is I think a really important trait. But in terms of like companies, we've taken companies that are potentially competitive before. We don't have allotments for certain sort of focus areas or things like that. It really depends on an application and how we feel about the company. But again, if they're a good team that's ultimately very important. It's the team that makes the success, and then the rest of it's the dressing, the window dressing. That's also important. All right. So, let's see.
Jim, and just jumping in here on on that as a follow-on to this question of what's the most important part of the application. I agree, there's no one important part, so it all has to kind of work together. But what I would say is when we look at an application, and when I say we, I don't mean we, our team. There are multiple people looking at your application. So the reviewer ecosystem, which is professionals in this industry, that could be and that could be investors, and that can be strategics, and that can be any other industry experts that are looking at your application. They may each look at a different part. And so much like, reviewers in a grant that you're submitting, where parts of it get sent to the different professional people with expertise in that space, and not necessarily just technical, also on the commercialization side, keep in mind, multiple people look at your application. That's part of the advantage, right? That's how you get feedback. That's also how you get eyes on your company, even if you're early on, which is why I would say really apply, even if you feel like you're early, to get the feedback. But the most important thing, I think, is to keep in mind that a lot of people with different perspectives would look at it. And so build a story that makes sense and that connects all the parts together and that really kind of sits well with whoever's reading it. And someone may focus on this and someone may focus on this, but the whole story as a narrative works.
Thanks, Ayla. Real quick, can BTI, MTI be applied together? Will the review panel be the same? We actually have independent review panels, so if you apply to both programs, they'll be reviewed independently. And if you are a company that you think could be fit to both, we encourage you to apply to both, or you can follow up with us individually to see what we think as well.
And once again, I will add to that because the review panel is independent and is professional within that industry, if you're applying to both program, there should be a reason, right? Either your product is a fit for both, or there are different products that you're applying with. That's all um, good and well, but make sure your application is tailored to that specific market, right? If you're talking to life science tools ecosystem versus medtech ecosystem, that should be a little bit different, right? Your commercialization path may be different, and your path to market is obviously different, right? So you want to make sure you're writing your application in that way.
All right, and then recordings will be shared afterwards with everybody. Simple answer there. We only have a few minutes left, so I do have we got through all the questions there, but I would like to kind of jump real quickly into the pitch events because we didn't talk about those very much. And we invite 20% of the applicants to the pitch events. Like I said, it's one of my favorite parts. Real quick, the format is, I think, very different than what you see a lot of places. So the format is we have a larger number of judges than companies, which is kind of rare. And you sit down at a table with maybe 5 to 7 of these experts, and you get 20 minutes together. So we suggest 5 minutes pitch, 15 minutes Q&A, but it's basically 20 minutes with the group. And we encourage discussion. So it's kind of it's a short pitch round, and then we do 5 table swaps. So you'll sit with 5 different tables. You'll meet 35, 40, 50 people during that time, and you'll get feedback. And the reason I love it so much is just because it's a great way to build new relationships. I got new relationships when I did this back in 2021. And I think that it's also a lot of really good feedback for the company. Before we kind of move on, Kara, Ricky, do you guys have any sort of memories or thoughts or perspectives on the pitch events from your side?
I do. At first, when I heard the format, I was like, what? You want me to sit at a computer and at a table and use my own computer and share my pitch? And after the first session, and I just saw that I was having a conversation with everyone at that table rather than just being drilled with questions or, that one person who's bold enough to speak up from an audience if you're on a stage. I felt like people actually understood my company, understood my goals, and it was a very valuable thing. And so I definitely started warming up as we did our little speed dating table swaps and stuff like that. And that was actually probably my favorite pitch event that I've ever been part of.
Yeah, it's a really smart structure. Everyone should copy it from you guys because it's um there's if anyone's ever been in kind of a group pitch, group critique scenario, there's someone in the room who just totally dominates the conversation and it's like a dog with a bone and kind of won't get off of some obscure part of the story or something that you kind of missaid halfway through, and it like that person can just torpedo the whole conversation, and that person's always in a room, and so they end up at one table. And okay, that table's a loss. All the other tables are great, and you get to just try it again, and you get to bang through it a whole bunch of different times. And so I actually think that the format is um, it's great. It's great because it's a little bit more intimate. There's half a dozen people instead of a room of 20 or 30, but um, you also get multiple shots at telling the story, and the kind of one-off effect where you just have a bad day or you have a bad kind of interaction and it poisons the whole process. That becomes very unlikely, and I think the kind of fidelity of information that I suspect BTI gets on the other side of that is much better than the way a lot of folks do this.
Thanks.
And I feel a lot more comfortable saying that now after you two have spoken, just to not sound like it's coming from us, but the feedback that we typically get from companies after these pitch events is really like, you know what, even if I don't make it in, that's like this is great. Like this is the best feedback I got. This is what I needed. I can work with that, even if I don't make it in. So a lot of times people really try to make their way to this event to make sure that they meet all these people, get all these connections, get that feedback. So,
All right, well, that's almost time. So I just want to say thank you, Ricky and Cara, for taking time out of your busy startup day to join us and to help talk to our prospective applicants here. As we're closing, there's one question here, Cara, about can you share the national average equity table? Is that publicly available?
It was shared with me in confidence, but I can ask my mentor, who has a great relationship with BTI, and ask her for permission to share it. And Jim or Eilert can answer that
Okay.
question for you.
We'll take that offline. Sure, no problem. And as we close, I just want to share one final video as we're leaving, and this is something we've never shown publicly before. This is the first time. When Ricky won his best video award. Ricky, what was your check size?
It was huge.
It was like 3 by 6, right?
Yeah.
So Ricky made this fun little video
Like
of
I
trying to
said,
take his winning home.
we learned a lot about like it made video a lot less intimidating. And this is how I used that great power that BTI granted me. This was me cashing the check.
It's such a fun little video. You shared it with us, and I appreciate that. And we've never had really an opportunity to share it. So, like I said, this has never been shown publicly before. But
Oh yeah,
you
I
tried
bought
a
a
whole bunch
donut.
of things with it. You tried to buy coffee with it. You tried to deposit it.
Yeah.
We'll stop it there. But yeah, really appreciate that. And again, thank you guys. It's a pleasure to see you again. Really happy on your progress. I guess one final thing before we go. We still got a few people on, but like, what's new with the company? What's your newest announcement? What's the biggest thing to happen recently for you? I know you both have cool stuff going on. Yeah,
Go
Kara,
for
you
it,
go
Ricky.
first.
Our product's commercially available. I have customers using my product like literally while I sleep in continents all over the world. So that's really amazing because we set out to do something when we actually achieved it. we're actually making huge strides going into the human IVF market, which is really amazing to see it truly behave as a platform technology. And so it's just been really exciting as we expand this into multiple species and see the company grow.
And we we were in early access. We went into early access during the BTI program and started taking pre-orders last spring. And so we've been shipping against those orders. And so now it's all set up the line, do it the same way every time, be completely reliable, make sure customers have good high quality supply. And so manufacturing has been a big focus of ours, which is a anyone who's done manufacturing will tell you it's quite a challenge, and it's pretty fun to see.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will wrap it here. Thank you so much. And if you have any other questions, of course, feel free to reach out to myself or the team here at BioTools Innovator. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, or evening, wherever you're calling from. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good one. Good luck.